Hello! Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, brought to you by Primary Arms. Tonight, gang, we're talking about priming. And no, we're not talking about when you're trying to start your weed eater and you push the little stupid ball. We're talking about priming cases. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, hey, Frack, what you been doing? Other than showing up late.
Working.
Well, congratulations.
You ever tried it?
Nope. I'm allergic.
I'd like to be allergic.
That's why I got me a government job.
Sweet.
Yeah, if that was only the truth. Anyway, I didn't get one of the right government jobs. I'm not the official shovel holder, so yeah, I still have to work. Anyway, so that's good, though, because the last couple of weeks you've been kind of slow, so it's got to be nice to be back to work.
Yep, it is.
And I'm sure Kathy enjoys that.
Yeah, she likes it when I'm gone.
Yeah. Then she can have all the parties she wants.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh. How about you, Nick? What you been up to?
Not a whole lot. Had to work last weekend. Other than that, did some brass prep. Fortunately, somebody left like 300 pieces of 223 brass at the range 2 weeks ago. So
I saw that. That was a nice pickup.
Dad and I was doing a lot of that. So
sweet. Jim, how about you?
Not much. Passed up one shooting last Sunday because of rain.
Yeah.
And if this weather holds up, I'll be going shooting later this week.
Alrighty.
73 degrees. So I can't. 73 degrees. I didn't think I had yesterday. I had to work on taxes. Today I had to take the wife back into town. You get the idea.
Yep.
Life gets in the way. How about you, Nick?
Nick just went.
yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, Travis. I ignored you again.
Yeah, like always. So we're not going to have enough time to go over everything that I did, but I sent out a package to an SOB who lives in California. So his package is on the way.
It's in the mail again.
You got the tracking info. You can verify. You can let all the
All I have
know.
is a set of numbers. I don't know what that means. Frankly, this is getting a little old. I'm done falling for it, Travis.
Oh.
So supposedly a package got sent out. Allegedly. I've been processing a bunch of 223 brass. I went with my buddy to one of our local towns, just a little ways from us. Hit every gun shop in that town. Not a primer, not a pound of powder, no ammo, nothing to be found. So my buddy decided to go ahead and buy a suppressor instead. So he bought his first suppressor. Used that Silencer Co. Kiosk, and that was pretty nice. If you're gonna get a suppressor, I suggest that's the way you go about it because it made it really easy. Been working on a bunch of targets, putting together another AR. My bench over in front of me has just got gun parts all down it. My other bench over here's got brass and everything on it. So I've been doing a bunch of stuff. So yeah.
I worked all weekend at Cabela's. Yay me. So did sell a hell of a lot of guns though. That's the one thing that I'm still kind of amazed with is we still have brand new gun owners coming in. Fries are done. But the one cool thing we have going on is I've got a couple of customers that came in over the summer And when they came in, it was their first time buying a gun, and they were all nervous and stuff. And so, I took the time and got them ready and then stuff. And my favorite line to use there is, guns, they're like Lay's potato chips. You can't just have one. The one guy was back buying his 15th since July. The other guy was buying his 8th. To which I asked them both, I said, do you want to adopt me? So, but yeah, it's funny to watch some of them when they come in and they're all nervous and they're like, oh, it's guns, and I don't know, and this is my first. And so, you walk through everything, you show them how to use them, and then you tell them how to go get training and stuff, and then the next thing you know, they're hooked. So,
Question, Mike.
Yeah.
As working behind a gun counter, sales counter, when you get a brand new gun owner?
Yep.
Generally speaking, where do you try to steer them towards? What caliber?
I don't specifically steer them towards a caliber. My first couple of questions. My first question is usually, what are you planning on doing? Then my second question is, what's your price range? And then the conversation goes from there. So depending on what the answers are, it could be anything. Typically, especially with the way firearms have been, lack of availability. I mean, so Jim, to give you an idea, I've seen 10 brand new handguns come out in 40 Smith & Wesson since June 1st.
When you say come out, do you mean go across
10.
your sales counter, or
Yes.
do you 10 new
10 come
styles? Okay.
No, not styles. 10 period.
Across your counter.
6 of which were Smith & Wesson.
Okay.
So nobody's making 40s right now. They're making 9s. A couple companies are making 45s, but pretty much everything is either 9 or 22, and that's what you're seeing in your handguns right now.
Well, that was my next question. Are you selling a lot of 22s, especially
Yes.
to the newcomers?
No, not to the newcomers particularly.
Okay.
Hey, I gotta ask, who has crickets in their house?
Jason.
Not I.
Nope, not Jason.
Nicholas.
I'm muted.
I don't have crickets. I would hear them. I would know that for sure.
Well,
There you go.
Muted again.
Dude, tell us the truth.
It's Nick. It's Nick. It's like he lives in a swamp.
And it's my mic on my microphone. So
dang it. Anyway,
there you go. Okay.
just break it off. So I mean, that's kind of the thing is it's not the only time I'm staring them to a 22 specifically for off the jump is if all they're looking to do is range, period. They don't have any intention of self-protection in any way, shape, or form. Then I'm not going to steer them away from something that they can use for self-protection. Because yes, all the statistics say 22s kill more people than blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. That's a statistic. You know what? Most of those are professional shooters that are hitmen, that are assassins, that are literally actually training for the purpose of using the 22 to slaughter people. So there you go. Your average person, especially your first-time shooter, if they're trying to find a firearm to protect themselves, giving them a 22 is horribly irresponsible. So usually it's 9. There's some guns and stuff that, if we could find, if people were making 40s, I wouldn't hesitate to, recommend them. Problem in the issue is, though, nobody's not making a lot of 40 ammo either. So I kind of got to go with what's coming out for ammo. And right now, the main focus is 9, 380, and 22, and then 223, 556. That's your main focus for ammo coming out of the factories right now. Occasionally, you'll get lucky and see some hunting rounds come out. Occasionally, you'll get lucky and see some 45, some 38, some 357, maybe some 44 here and there, but most of it's 9. either target or self-protection rounds, some 380 stuff. I mean, there's been 40s here and there. There's been a couple times we've gotten some 40 and 45 in, but usually it's not going to be the 40 and the 45. It's usually the 9, the 22, and the 223, 556 stuff that's being cranked out right now.
Well, that's what's being shot too. That's what's being shot by like a big dog.
But the thing is that's what's available. It's not necessarily it's being shot because it's being shot. It's being shot because that's what's available currently.
Understood.
So, if going back to my rant of a month ago where I went just absolute full potato, if we could somehow willingly slow down the purchasing for a month, everything would get caught back up, and you'd start seeing companies switching from strictly producing 9 to now going back to their whole rotation of ammo. A lot of the nobody's confirmed this because they don't want to, but a lot of the ammo manufacturers are talking, the rumors mill is they aren't making hunting ammo right now. All they're focusing on, if it's rifle, it's 223, 556, maybe some 308 mixed in there for AR use. But if it's rifle, basically the only thing you're seeing really is the 223, 556. Otherwise, it's 22-9 for the most part. So,
well, it seemed like everywhere I went for a long time, there was 6.5 Creedmoor everywhere. 6.5 Creedmoor, all the rifles on the shelf were 6.5 Creedmoor. But that is dried up in my area too now.
So here's the thing behind that. Firearms manufacturing, for the most part, is a year behind as far as trends go. Because when a trend hits, if you haven't been already ahead of that and you jump, say you jump the shark, shall we say, and just happen to get lucky and landed in a good shot where you picked a good caliber to do it with, most of the time, if a caliber's a hit, the firearms industry has to catch up if you weren't in on the ground floor. So 6.5 Creedmoor was one of those that just absolutely took off. And so now you have everybody scrambling, trying to catch up. And so now everybody's flooding the market. Well, that's now slowed down. But that's why there was that glut of 6.5 rifles and 6.5 ammo, is because that was all made, say before March of last year, and it was sitting on shelves waiting for hunting season. Because they'll continue to produce, December, February, January, February, and they'll have stuff. And then you get into March and April and May and June, and that's the real busy season for firearms production, because that's right after SHOT, right after the big European show. And so all of the new stuff's now out, and now we need to get it out to the consumer by June and July. Well, when they got all shut down, anything that would have been coming out for that particular session didn't happen. So anything that was left in the warehouse got shoved out. And so everybody was sitting on a crap ton of 6.5 stuff. Out it goes.
Well, Mike, so would you say it's better to jump the shark or jump a shark?
Neither. It's better to talk about priming when you're talking about priming.
Okay, yep. So what are we talking about today?
We're not talking about priming, like I said in the open. We're not talking about priming your chainsaw or your weed whacker. We're not talking about priming the tap like Paul Nelson alluded to. It'd be nice, but we're not talking about that tonight. So what we're actually talking about is priming cases. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about brass prep. We went through and we sized cases. Somehow I went from 5 cases to 4 cases. I'm not sure what the hell happened there, but whatever. It's easy enough to make another one since I have them sitting here. So, but I mean, it was a case of, we went through and we showed you how to get from fired brass to ready to load brass. which wasn't that bad of a process. Oh, crap. I'm just kidding. Anyway. And so now we're going to talk about the next step in that process, which is putting the primers in. Why are primers important? Hello?
Well, it's part of your cartridge, and without it, you're not going to be able to actually have a completed cartridge. So that primer is your actual ignition source to ignite the powder and propel your projectile.
All right. So it's kind of important, really.
It's a little bit, yeah.
So the fact that people can't find primers right now kind of really sucks.
That's a big deal, yeah.
Could you put a fuse in the flash hole
Yes.
and make it work?
I mean, Jim did that for years, but back
Well-
then it was called a flintlock.
So Jason, technically, yes, you could. However, you could not effectively get it to work in one of today's current designed firearms. Because by nature of the operation of the firearm, you'd have to figure out a way to light that fuse, and the only way to light that fuse would be to light it and then put it in the chamber. And you need that chamber closed to be able to generate the pressure to get the bolt to do what you want it to do at the speed you want it to do it.
Have
so
you all ever heard of Arbicus? That's what you guys are joking with me about. It was a Spanish-made firearm way back in the day, and they would actually take a rope and put it into the fuse. So there you go, Jason. It works, but it doesn't work well, nor is it reliable.
Good.
Well, not on one of our modern cartridges, you lose all your pressure
That's right.
out the back end.
That's
And
right.
if you close the bolt, it would break the fuse in half. And
That's right.
That's
put
what
the
I was going
fire
to do
out.
before Jim interrupted.
I knew
So-
where you're going, Mike.
Yep.
I just sped you up.
Yeah.
Because you were drawing it out,
Oh, I'm crying.
boring the crap out of me.
So Jorgen said a strike anywhere match on a modified firing pin lights when it goes through the bolt face. Possibly. That might work. But you still have to figure out how to seal. That's the biggest thing that a primer does, is it generates a seal on the back end of that cartridge so the pressure doesn't leak out.
So when we're talking about primers, and we're gonna refer back to your 35 Remington that you've got there. When
Yes.
we go to the store, and let's pretend that you can choose whatever primer you want.
Right.
How does one know what primer is the one that we need to purchase? Because I know a lot of new reloaders ask, "Can I use a small rifle in such and such case?" And they actually have the cartridge they're asking about requires a large primer. So how is a new reloader going to find out what primer that they need to go and purchase?
Well, that takes us back to our good old friend, the reloading manual, and more specifically, the reloading recipe. When you're loading for specific firearms, you look up your manual, and when you are looking at your cartridge, some of the information that they give you is test components. So they tell you the case, they tell you the trim to length, they tell you what primer they used, they tell you what primer size, and then they go on and further. So
Okay.
in this case, the 35 Remington uses a large rifle, not a Magnum large rifle, but a large rifle primer. And when they built their test loads, they used a Remington 9.5.
Is there a difference in the size between a Magnum large rifle primer and a non-Magnum large rifle primer?
I've never measured, so I couldn't tell you.
I'm a newcomer. Remember, I'm going to ask questions like that.
Right.
So here, that's another rabbit hole that we'll have to go down another time, but there are differences by manufacturer. So let's just stick with Remington, the large rifle from Remington. If you choose standard large rifle or magnums, the actual height is going to be exactly the same. But that height could change if you went to a different manufacturer, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of stuff that we'd have to go in, and this is where new reloaders and even average reloaders get
lost quickly.
Yeah, lost, or you just don't care because you like this right here. One of the things we need to talk about is some tools and stuff that we're going to need to use to check stuff.
Yep.
But you need to know first off, like Paul showed us on the last time he was on, like Paul measured his primer pocket, and he also had all the same pieces of brass, so he was able to figure out this particular brass. This is what the primer pocket depth is. But for us, just average reloaders right now, that's nothing for us to really concern ourselves with. We just need to figure out what case do I have, what primer do I need. Let's go pull that off the shelf or go and purchase it. And for our case right now, like Mike said, we're looking at large rifle.
Yep. So, and the key difference between large rifle and large rifle magnum is the, I guess, I don't know, spark, hotness, flame kernel.
The amount of priming compound that's in the primer cup, that is the difference, and it makes a larger, hotter spark.
Yep. So I was trying to think of an analogy that would make it easy for somebody that doesn't.
Now, Jim, would you actually say it's a hotter spark, or would you say it was like a longer duration of
both, because there's more priming compound in there, and it would last longer because of the fact there's more fuel in that primer cup, and the hotter. I would say hotter is correct because of the fact there's more material being burned in that primer cup.
And a lot of the times you use a magnum on a cartridge when you're using extruded powders.
Yep, hard to ignite powders is a good place for it. But again, that's an advanced technique. We're going into the rabbit hole again.
So Paul Nelson said it's called brilliance in the priming world.
Breeziance.
Breeziance? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's kind of the big thing there. And that's what you need to know. Now, the realistic world right now, you can't find primers. Okay. We're trying to do this whole entire series, taking into consideration real world normal situations and real world current situations. Current situations, you can't find primers. So say you're a new reloader and all you can find is large rifle magnum primers. Can they use them?
Yep.
Well,
in a word, yes.
Okay. What do they need to do to be able to use them? We'll go into this more during this part of the series, but quick note, what do they need to do?
Okay, well, the standard would be to tell someone if they're going to use something like that, the best thing to do would be to reduce their charge by 10%.
Okay.
For safety reasons.
Correct. Because as we were saying, magnum primers have a bigger or a better breeziance. So that means they're going to ignite your powder better if you have one of those charges, which we'll talk about 2 weeks from now, charging cases and what a powder charge is and what we're talking about. We'll go into the depth on that 2 weeks from now, but we wanted to mention the fact that you can't just take a Magnum primer and swap it out for a regular primer, because there is consequences to that. So that's what I wanted to talk about there. So what all do we need to prime a case? So we've got our cases, which we pop the primers out. We'll theoretically pretend they're clean. What do we need to do?
Well, it depends on like how far down the hand loading rabbit hole you want to go.
Basic.
Paul showed us basic, but Paul, real quick, because I have it in my hand. Paul showed us, like, I got a tool here. If you need to clean your flash holes, you can do that. This is just a little tool from Lyman, and this you just stick in the case, and you can. So this isn't set up for 223, but it's hard to see. But yeah, this will clean your flash hole or uniform your flash hole. Take off those burrs on the inside.
Okay.
So that's one option we could do. Do you guys uniform your primer pockets at all? Because that's another option.
Right, but I don't know if that's necessarily a basic. I think just cleaning the primer pocket would be your basic option. Oh, and
I was going to say, Jorgen, is that where you were going? Yeah.
Yep.
So Jorgen is correct. I just said reduce your load by 10%. That's actually not correct, because it depends on what load data you take. You don't want to reduce your minimum. So to me, when I said that, I should have been more specific. I'm picturing your maximum, reduce that by 10%. So don't ever go under your minimum, because you can actually cause just as much, if not more, problems if you reduce your minimum load.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, like I say, we got a couple options, but you can clean your primer pockets, uniform them. You can clean up that flash hole. What happens if we come across one that has a crimp in it, Mike?
Well, that's something that excuse me.
Well, see, I've got one
we'd have to deal with.
Yeah, I've got one right here that I've already processed. And here's a tool that I've got from Ballistic Tools, and this is just a go, no-go gauge for primer pockets.
Right.
So I'm just going to check my processed brass and see. Okay, so that primer pocket's, that's good. That's ready for a primer to go in.
Yep.
The no-go, if this goes in, then it's too big. It's enlarged too much, and a primer will just fall out pretty much.
Yeah.
So I can see that doesn't go in there. But here's a piece. I just took the primer out. I haven't actually done anything with this, and it looks like I do have a crimp on there. So this, even though this looks to an average reloader or whatever, they'll think, well, my primer's out. Why isn't my primer going in? It keeps folding up or binding up and getting mangled up. So yeah, let's talk about removing the crimp for just a second, because this, a lot like we just discussed, a lot of reloaders are getting into the common calibers. 9mm 223 is going to be the worst for them, and this is a very, very common issue.
Yeah,
is crimp primer pockets.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not an advanced reloading technique. This is you could very easily run across this technique. And like Travis was saying, he's talking about mangled primers. That's the way most people are going to find out that your pocket's crimped. So, or that the previous primer was crimped in there. Or the other way they're going to find it out is when they try and press it out and it doesn't come out easy. And so then all of a sudden they're having to put more force on their sizing die to get that primer out.
So if we are by chance loading 223 and we have a pile of brass and a lot of them have a crimp, what's some of the ways that you guys take care of that issue? Or what's a good option for a new reloader to do? Is there some equipment they need to go buy? Is there something they might have that they could already use to remove that crimp? What can we do?
So if they bought the basic tools, like one of the Lyman, crikey, one of the Lyman little prep tool things. I don't remember what the name of it is. It's the one with the nice handle. But if they bought that setup, then what it comes with, and this is mine. This is my little nicer setup.
Mike, take a screen off, Travis, so you can.
Yeah.
All 5 of us. So there you go.
So this is my setup. This is a precision prep tool from Little Crow Gunworks. And so, but what they use is they use the Lyman case prep tools. And normally when you get these, they come on a single handle, and then you can switch out the tool as you go. But this one right here, let's see if I can get it focused. That one right there.
It's a crimp remover.
Yeah, is the crimp remover. So what that does is this goes into that primer pocket, and then you can take out that crimp, so then you can get it done. Now,
okay, Mike. So when you say take out that crimp, what is that tool doing? Is it
cutting it out?
Cutting material? Okay.
Is it
chamfering? Is it chamfering that pocket in a way?
It doesn't really chamfer. It literally just cuts. So, you could also use the chamfer tool. Lead Bullet Junkie is saying the number 3 Phillips head bit on a drill will take the crimp out of 5.56 brass. And he says some of the number 3 Phillips head bits are a little fatter than others. So he says number 3 is too fat, then use the number 2. That again is going to be cutting that brass out. Now there are other ways to do that, and I don't have. Do I?
Yeah, probably the most common. I've got one right in front of me. Is like the RCBS primer pocket swager tool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mine's not handy, so.
So like the tool you were just showing, it actually cuts and removes that crimp.
Correct.
So basically, just a crimp. Jim, what would be the easiest way of saying the extra material around the primer pocket? How would you explain that to a new reloader?
What that told Travis, hold up one of the pocket buttons. No, the pocket button. Yes. Bring it in closer to your camera, please. Now, if you folks look at that, there's a shoulder there. The rounded part at the bottom, at the top of it, where Travis is at, that goes in the pocket. But if you look a little further down, about almost an eighth of an inch, there's a rounded shoulder there. What that does, that shoulder actually moves. It swages. It moves the metal away from the corner. It makes it a nice rounded corner. And that's why they call it swaging, a swaging tool, because it actually moves the metal. It doesn't cut the metal away. It moves it away.
Okay, so you say Mike's cuts and removes it,
Yes.
and this one actually moves and actually reforms the primer pocket to the shape of this piece right here.
That's right. It gives you a nice gentle radius.
Okay, so we've got 2 options: cutting, removing, or actually moving material. Okay. And there's a bunch of different tools we can purchase. I don't remember offhand how much the RCBS primer pocket swager kit is.
40.
I think I was going to say it's roughly 30 to 40. A tool like you've got there, Mike, how much would you say that is?
This was, I want to say 35 from Little Crow. I'll actually have a link for this in the show notes and for the primer swage that Travis just showed.
Travis, do you have the Lyman double handle primer pocket conditioning kit? I thought I know you have the flash hole uniformer.
Yeah, I'm sure I do somewhere over on the bench.
There's a kit that Lyman sells. Mike, you want to put this link, or I don't have a link for it, but you want to put that link in there. Okay. There's a tool that Lyman sells that has 4 bits inside of it. 2 of them are primer pocket conditioning tools, and 2 of them are case mouth conditioning tools. Okay, it's got a gentle chamfering tool for inside the case mouth. It's got a deburring tool for outside the case mouth. And the primer pocket conditioning tools, one is a bottom scraper. Mike, hold up your bottom scraper, please. It's right there on the tool in your hand, Mike.
Yep. No, I'm just zooming in on the camera.
Zoom in, please. Yes, sir. Yes, if you would. He's showing you the primer pocket scraper right there. That's it. But now the other tool that comes with the Lyman set is right there under Mike's finger. It looks a lot like a number 2 Phillips bit. It's got 4 corners. That actually removes the sharp corner and creates sort of a funnel, not a chamfer or a radius, but a funnel effect similar to those. But the tool I'm talking about, the number 2 Phillips bit, shall we say, it's another tool that cuts and removes the primer pocket, primer crimp, not pocket.
I've got it separate so I've got the other size. Because when you buy this tool, you get small primer pocket prep tools and large. So,
you're right.
Excuse me. The ones that are actually on the tool right now are small, not large. So here is the actual scraping tool.
Now,
All this is like a screwdriver bit. All it is like a screwdriver bit with a flat point.
But when you're saying scraping tool, that's what that's
for cleaning
doing
the primer
is
pocket.
it's cleaning out all the old carbon and all the gunk out of your primer pocket. So when you see the new primer in there, it's like a fresh, clean hole.
Correct.
And there's another.
So like this one here. Let's see if I can get it to show. Okay, you can see how dirty that primer pocket is right now. So I take my primer pocket cleaner, and you literally just back and forth, honestly. You don't want to really freehand it because it's easy to twist it. If you use the tool, you can apply the proper pressure and it cleans it up real nice. And then you can see, now you can see it's not so dirty. So
now they have another tool, Mike, that is like little metal wires.
okay.
Jim, what's the word what is it?
It's called an end brush, Travis. RCBS sells them.
Yes. Now are those two pretty much comparable, or is one more preferred over the other? If someone had to go out and purchase one of those and they're looking on the shelf, which one of those two, or does it matter?
Well, I would recommend both, actually. It's a terrible thing to do, but I would actually recommend it both, because the one I like the wire end brush, because if I'm going to actually do it, clean out the primer pocket, I like it because it's so well, it sinks to the bottom, and that's just the way it goes. It cleans out the pocket. But the tool I'm talking about, the tool kit that Mike's going to look up the link for, contains all the bits you need for small primer, large primer, and case mouth treatment. So there's actually 6 bits to go into that.
Yeah, but that both of those, the scraper and the end brush, they don't remove any crimp. They're just cleaning the pockets.
Correct.
So,
right you are.
So what's the advantage if a guy goes to the store and he's got that piece in front of him that Mike's got, or he looks at the shelf and he sees this right here? What's one over the other? Because this goes on your press.
Yes.
Mike's, you have to actually handle each piece and use your hands. So you've got probably, would you say that the one Mike has, the advantage is probably maybe a little bit more speed than the RCBS, but the RCBS is kind of more saves your hands and stuff?
Shut up, Travis. I'm trying to answer you. You won't shut up, you rascal. And no, the answer to your question, you're trying to take me the other way, but Travis, I agree with you. The RCBS primer pocket swaging tool is much faster than the tool that Mike has. Because you're using a little bit of leverage, I think it gives you a better primer pocket too. You're using a little bit of leverage of the press, get it up to the top of the press and all that, and you're actually reforming a quality primer pocket.
And it's going to be more consistent too.
Yes,
probably.
I agree. I like the swaging tool. I've had one for years, but again, I reload a lot of military caliber ammo.
Yeah, and it's just important for reloaders to talk about crimps because you're going to run into it one time or another, and it's just nice for a new reloader to know that this is a common issue, and there is tools that you're probably going to need to purchase. Like Jason, he uses the Swageit on his 650. There's also the Dylan. What is the other one? The actual tool is a Dylan 600.
Yeah, the Dylan 600 Swager. I've got it somewhere around here. I think it's actually out in the garage still.
Yeah, so that's a dedicated actual tool also to remove the crimp. Yeah. Nick, do you use a tool to remove crimp? Is this something common in your?
Oh, it's very common. Just like Jim said, we reload a lot of either 5.56 brass, 308 brass, 30-06 brass, all sorts of other brass. I want to, like my dad put it in the chat. If you can get like a countersink bit, thread that in your drill. That's a good cheap one. You can get those for like $3 or $4. Usually at a hardware store, and what it'll do is it'll countersink that mouth of that primer pocket, so you can seat your primer. I have a Case Prep Express Center that's got a cutter that'll cut out the primer pocket clean, all that. I can just go station by station on that. But yeah, there's all sorts of good ways. And I think I have that same die as you, Travis, the RCBS, but I'm not sure. We haven't used it in a while. We have Nick, sorts of different ones.
I like that you just brought up. I did kind of forget, even though the tools that Mike just showed us, those are on a little hand device, but the actual tool cutting pieces, the reamers, all that, they're just an 8x32 thread, and they just so happen, all of those tools just so happen to go into, like you just said, the RCBS Case Prep Center or other. That's the common thread pitch, is that 8x32 for pretty much all of these Case Prep Centers. So if you picked up any of these Case Prep Centers, you could purchase, like Jim said, that tool set or whatever, and put all of those into the Case Prep, and then you'll be able to have all those tools motorized all in one place, sitting on your bench, and you could quickly chamfer, deburr, clean your primer pockets, remove a crimp, all off of one unit. And so I actually think, for me, I'd probably go with this, the RCBS primer pocket swage tool, plus something like Mike had, or even better, the Case Prep Center like Nick has. The Case Prep Center is the best of both worlds because it's motorized.
Yep. And you could do the same thing with that Hornaday one that I had last week, because it's got a 3-station. So yes. you could do it's got a chamfer. It's got the chamfer and deburr on there, and then you could put the pocket cleaner on there, or if you've got crimps, you could put the crimp remover on there and do that too.
Well, I guess that's another good thing for that Frankfurt Arsenal Platinum thing, because it's got all of those in addition to the trimming setup, all on that Case Prep Center right there.
Right.
So now that we've removed the crimp, and once you remove the crimp, you don't remove it every time. Once it's gone, it's gone. Deal.
Yep. Same with the primer flash hole uniforming tool. It's a one-time deal. Once you get rid of that burr on the inside, that's it. You're done.
Yeah, I know Jim shoots a lot of military 308, and it's got a crimp. So once he takes and processes that brass and removes that crimp, he's got probably has those separated into whatever containers, and he never has to go back and remove that crimp. But his new brass coming into rotation, he'll have to go back again and remove the crimp off that new brass. So if you can separate your brass or whatever and keep that in mind, that you're going to run into this, and it's good to have the tools to take care of that.
Exactly. You got to keep it segregated. That's all. Otherwise, you'll go crazy. That's why I like this tool that Nick and Ray created and made sure I had a copy of. It's a tool. All it is just a ticket, is a processing ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys go over on the Discord channel, I think it's available over there.
I don't think it is. I can make it available if anybody wants it.
Oh, my mistake.
We can make it available. I know Dad wouldn't have a problem with that. But yeah, we can make it available for anybody that wants it. If you guys want it, throw it in the chat, and I can put a link on it on the Discord.
Yeah, Nick doesn't talk as much as he should, but he's got good ideas and he's got some good stuff. I used to just write it on like a little Post-it note or whatever, and then he showed me these nice little actual legit cards that they use, and that's what I've been using myself. But it's nice to have a tool like this primer pocket gauge,
just like
too.
that, Travis.
Yep. But it's nice to have a tool to check your crimp, your pockets, to make sure that crimp's gone. So there's no guessing, because I've done it before when I first started off. I thought I removed the crimp, and then you get going on something and you're back to, primer's not going in right. And then you got to go back and do it all again the correct way. So a cheap tool like this here to just check is pretty handy. Just peace of mind knowing that you've actually done the job and you're not wasting your time.
I have a question, since we're talking about basic stuff like this, decrimping brass. How many times have you ever decrimped brass and threw it in the wrong bucket?
A lot.
Yeah, you don't go on autopilot when you're reloading.
But that's why those cards you just showed us, Jim.
Yep.
Those are perfect, because if you look at those cards, everybody, hold one up again real quick, Jim. Sure. It has steps on there. And you go by each step and you actually check it off, and you'll cut these into individual cards, and that card stays with your batch of brass. It never leaves that brass until it's completely done. So you can see first thing Nick and his dad's going to do is they're going to clean their brass, so that stays with their brass until it's done, and then it gets checked off. And then next it goes down the list until it's completely the last step is adding the projectile. So once that's checked off, that card's done, and they know they've gone through all the steps that they wanted. I think these cards, something similar to this at least, is a good idea, especially for new reloaders, because I don't know about you guys, but I got kids, and how many times have you guys been in the middle of something, you get interrupted, and you come back a day or two later and you completely forgot what you left, where you left off in that process. And having a card like Jim just showed us, you're able to look at it and say, well, this is where I left off, because I don't have this checked off, but I have this.
I have another suggestion for basic purposes, and that would be to create a lot number. The lot number could be the time you actually finished it, the exact time, and you can also put the day's date. There's a simple lot number like that, and you put your own initials on there or something, like whatever you float your boat. But it's like, why not put a lot number on it? The other way, you put a lot number in the notes that I just held up that Chico's asking for. Nick, I tell you what, if you don't mind, I'm going to put in the request already. Chico, go over to the Discord channel in a little bit after Nick puts it up, and he's going to put up a link for this exact document that him and his dad created.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now, Jim, actually, at the moment.
Thank you, sir. Very much appreciated. But anyway, see where the bottom left, I don't know, right corner, bottom right corner where it says note, that's where I'd put my lot number. And you're going to have more comprehensive notes anyway. Put your lot number on your notes. wherever you record it, whether it's online, whether it's digital, or whether it's a hard copy. That way you have something to keep the two together.
You know, Jim, I gotta say that is a very nice shirt you got on.
I do agree with you, sir. I agree with you 100%. Why do you think I put it on?
That's a couple of handsome-looking guys there.
It actually comes up correct on my YouTube screen or my StreamYard screen. Jim and Travis, Adventures in Reloading. If you notice, this guy here has got a ball cap on, but this guy here has got a beard. Travis got me just right, and himself too.
It's because one's losing his hair and the other one has a full head of hair.
Well, has to do with, what are you, 38? I'm 68.
Yeah, that nice shirt. But okay, so now we've talked about the tools to remove crimp.
My shirt's better.
I do like that one. I have that same one.
I like that one too. I have it too.
Courtesy of one of the sponsors of the show, Patriot Patch Company. So, but yes, so back to priming. So these are what primers actually look like. For those who don't know, because you have
what is that strange golden object in your hand, Michael? Is worth money.
Money, like magic.
Those are primers, kids.
Is that the equivalent of a spark plug in an internal combustion engine?
Pretty much.
Yep.
Pretty much.
So,
well, since you're showing us that, Mike, this is the perfect time to talk about the tools that we need to actually put those primers into our cases.
Look in his hand, Travis. Look in his hand.
We're not going to go as far in depth as we did for handgun. So, for those of you who want to know about priming tools and what priming tools to use and get and that type of thing, when we did the handgun show on priming, we really spent a lot of time on the tools. We're not going to do that on this one. What we're going to do is just talk about the Lee Auto Prime XR that I have. And that's the one we're going to talk about. This is the older version. They have a newer, updated version, which I don't have any large rifle primers in, so it's sitting over there in a box. And we're going to use this one because this one has primers in it already. So,
well, as far as tools go, though, you've got hand operated, like Mike's showing us right there. You've got the priming. Usually your press has some priming set up on it, so you can prime on the press. Then you also have like a dedicated bench mounted priming system. There's multiple ways to go about it, but probably the quickest and most convenient is going to be like a hand priming setup like that Lee or an RCBS, because you can do a lot of them at one time and you can generally sit and watch TV or something while you're priming.
Yep. That's the nice thing about rifle priming is you're going to more often you're not going to do rifle priming on your press. You're going to do it by hand. So on this one here, so Lee makes two sets of shell holders. They make this style, which is flat, which is specifically for use in their auto primes. And then they've got, if I can pop it out with one hand, then they've got their standard shell holders, which are your press style and most everybody uses for everything else. So, so if you buy a Lee Auto Prime, you need to get the set of shell holders that work for it. So basically what happens, this is all set up. How this works is this twists off and then you dump your primers in. Typically when you open a case of primers, they're going to be shiny side up. So when you flip them over, they're now not shiny side up, they're shiny side down. And then how this one works is you roll it around to this, you get your primers into this little channel here. And sometimes you got to shake it a little bit till you get it to go like that. Take your your unprimed case, slide that puppy in that shell holder, and then like that. Now, the thing is, the way this is set up is it's got a little pickup here So you're not having access to all the primers. So theoretically, if you do detonate the primer that's here, it won't detonate all these. So when I just squeeze the handle, all I did is pick the primer up and drop it into here. So now, as you can see, there's actually some force behind it. And normally you wouldn't hold it at that much of an angle. But then when you're done, you get a prime case. Now, normally when I prime cases, I use my right hand because I'm a little more consistent that way. And I know how much pressure I always put. So, and then you can see there's a primer ready to go in the hole. So that way, when I do my next case, good to go. Now, when you pull these out and then set them in your loading block, make sure that you pay attention to your loading block so you're not trying to shove a primer in a case that's already primed. That doesn't work well. And it usually causes loud bangs that scare everybody else in the house. So, I see somebody in the chat wants to know the link to the Discord. Or no, that's Nick commenting. So, if you go on to MeWe, we do have the link for the Discord there. Facebook is anti-link. So if you want the Discord link, you need to send me a private message, and I will be more than happy to get that and send it to you. So
same for me. I'm pretty. I'm always there on the Discord.
Yep.
I tried to post it, so it must not have went through. Okay.
No, it won't let you post links.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, Mike, you can also post, if you would please, post the link in the show notes.
Yep, I will. So I will put the note for that into the show notes, or the link in that into the show notes. So Nick, if you want to post that in the private chat, then I can pop it over there.
So now, Mike, before you do too many of those,
I've only got 5 done.
So what happens if a guy, like, we got to talk a little bit about primer seating depth.
Right. So the idea behind what we're doing is trying to be consistent on your pressure with the lever. And you will, as you're pushing down, you will start to get to the point where you feel the resistance, and then you feel where it hits the actual end of the primer cup. And it won't really move anymore. And so it's not, it requires some hand pressure, but not like Superman trying to bend an iron bar in half pressure.
Yeah, well, that's very important to say, like, end of the stroke wise, because a lot of new reloaders I know are a little bit scared of primers. They're worried that they're gonna set them off. Yep, you see it every day in on the chats that we're in. They're worried about decapping a case with a primer in there. They're worried it's going to blow up on them. Primers are, I mean, they can be deadly for sure, but you do have to seat them correctly, or you could be wasting your time doing that, and you'll get out and your load just won't work correctly. So the standard, Sammy has a standard. Jim, what does Sammy stand for?
Supporting Arms Association and Manufacturers Institute.
And that's basically what everybody wants to kind of go by, because that's a.
Travis, forgive me, I said it incorrectly. Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturers Institute. I said association. It's ammunition.
Oh, thank you. And they have some. Like, everyone in the industry goes by these standards. So when you can go up there, they've got, I know I've looked at them before, but you can look at all the primers, see the heights we're talking about, the cup thicknesses, all of that. But if you don't seat your primer below flush, they're not going to go off correctly, right, Jim?
I agree with you up to a point, Travis. I don't really think it's a big deal to take and set a number like 2,000 below flush or 8,000 below flush. I prefer to seat my primers to the bottom of the pocket, then gently apply a tiny bit of stress to that so that the priming pellet is actually stressed on the anvil side. Then when the firing comes in there, it can sink all of its energy into the primer rather than shifting the primer forward because somebody didn't seat it deep enough.
Right. So what you're saying is if you don't seat your primer, if you have your primer a little bit above, if your primer is a little bit above the primer pocket or even flush, when the firing pin hits that, it won't compress that anvil and actually ignite the primer itself. Right, Jim?
Up to a point, yes, I agree. It's not something, it's inconsistent reloading is what Travis was talking about. And that's why I said I'd prefer to seat my primers to the bottom of the pocket.
Basically, what Travis's point is you need to be consistent,
Yep.
and you don't want your firing pin pushing. You don't want your firing pin seating your primer. You want your firing pin to ignite the primer. That's what it's designed to do. It's not designed to seat the primer. So when you're using this tool, you need to make sure that when that ram comes all the way up, and you push that ram all the way up that's in here, that it actually seats that primer all the way to where it should be, and you're not bringing it up part way and then stopping. So one of the things that Jorgen had mentioned is make sure this is not pointed towards your face. And then after you get done, you can, you can just give it a little flick of the wrist and it'll make sure the next primer is ready to go. So
Paul Nelson's got a good safety point. When Travis is talking about leaving the primer stick slightly above the head of the case, you do create the potential for slam fire, and that's when the primer is impacted by the face of the bolt face, by the bolt face itself. It can actually cause the primer to ignite before the bolt is locked up. This is particularly important in our flow-through guns or semi-automatic firearms, because when that bolt comes forward in the bolt carrier and it all slams together, that could actually detonate the primer. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. I really appreciate that. That's a very good, valid point that we'd forgotten about.
Yeah, you guys said it way better than I was trying to, but I've seen where new reloaders using a hand tool like that, they don't seat the primer all the way to the bottom because they're just so worried that thing's going to blow up in their hand.
Correct.
And I've seen it where they've done a whole pile, and you look at it and you can actually catch your fingernail on the primer because it's not even below flush. It's sticking up too far. And that's mostly because they're just worried that it's going to blow up on them.
Right.
There's another very simple way to check all this sort of thing. Just get a piece of glass, a small piece, like a mirror or anything like that, something tiny. That's the best way Mike is showing. Use the tip of your finger. But if you set that primed case on a piece of something flat, steel, whatever, not a piece of wood, but
your table, yeah,
a glass top table or even your kitchen table with some nice and smooth, good finish. And if it rocks, seat that primer deeper. It's not seated deep enough. Slam fire is the worst thing you could do.
Yep.
And it ruin your gun and could ruin you too.
Yeah.
Because you're igniting the case before the rifle has a chance to lock up the ammo in the chambers correctly.
That's like my dad and I have a 1897 Winchester, and it's known to slam fire, but we will never slam fire it. It's rare we will, just to kind of show how it will, but if you do a lot of it, it will destroy the gun.
Mm-hmm.
What caliber is that rifle?
12 gauge.
Thank you.
Shotgun. It's one of the ones that's a favorite of SAS shooters for a couple of their competitions. So 338 Super Pew said, I've noticed my hand primer doesn't need to go all the way. It actually damages the primer if I do. Correct. That's one of the things you have to realize as you're using it. you may not have the exact same stroke every single time on your primer, whether it's on your press or in a hand primer or a bench mounted primer. You're not necessarily going to have the same, and the reason is not all your primer pockets are the same.
Mike, he's also got a very good line. 338 Super Pew also put in there. It's a very noticeable feeling when it hits the bottom of the primer pocket. That's exactly right. That's what I was saying. When you stop when you feel it hit the slightest resistance, you feel the primer going in, but then you feel that little, just almost like a mushroom kind of thing. The only way I can put it in words, but you get the feel when that primer presses against the bottom. That's when you stop. That's consistency. You have to be consistent with this sort of thing.
Yeah, the problem with a lot of this stuff is we all know it's hard to explain. It's all about feel. We all know the feeling of seating a primer, but it's hard to convey that to somebody else. Because a lot of this stuff is all about feel. And I can say, I think the hand primer tool, that like the Lee RCBS, whatever it is, when it's in your hand, like Jim says, you can feel that primer hit the bottom, and you can calibrate yourself. So every piece of brass, different head stamps, they're going to be, primer pocket's going to be a little bit different in depth. So when you're doing it by hand, you can get a wider range of different brass head stamps, pretty consistent with the hand primer, because you can feel when that gets to the end. For me, doing it on a machine like my 1050, I have to kind of average it out, because that machine cannot tell how deep a primer pocket is. It's just seating it to what I've got it set at. So I could be checking my primer pockets, and I could be a couple thousandths here or there, but that's because it's just doing what it's set up to do. A hand priming setup, like we're talking about right now, is probably one of the fastest and more consistent ways of priming, mostly because of the fact that you could feel that primer seat perfectly.
Yep.
And you can watch TV while you're doing it.
Been there, done that.
Yep.
The only thing is, the family starts growling about the consistent tink, 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 tink.
Yeah. All right. So, GGW, when we get into the rabbit hole about priming, then you can ask that question. So
Sorry.
He's got a question on there about priming on a progressive, and we will.
I've done that too.
We will cover that when we go into the rabbit hole next week. So, as I mentioned last week, and maybe some of the new reloaders didn't hear that because it did say rabbit hole for the show. What we're going to do the rest of this series on rifle, because rifle is considerably different than pistol, is we're going to do a show about the basics. And the following week, we're going to bring Paul Nelson back on as an experienced reloader to share his experiences about going down the rabbit hole on all these different topics. So last week, we did brass prep down the rabbit hole. And we only covered a couple topics. We could have gone a lot longer than we did, even on the topics we talked about. So we're just going to cover a couple topics. And next week, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about primer pocket uniforming. We'll go back into flash hole deburring a lot better than Travis did quickly tonight, because it can be a basic thing. It can also be an advanced thing. There's a whole bunch of different things that we can talk about just for specifically priming. We can do an entire show of down the rabbit hole on priming. So that's what we're going to do next week. So GGW, hang on to your question. Bring it back next week. For this week, that kind of pretty much wraps it up. It's a pretty simple process to prime. Yes, you need to be safe. No, I didn't have my safety glasses on because otherwise I can't read the screen at this point in time because it makes everything blurry. So when I work during the day, I don't wear my glasses, but I've always made sure that since I started wearing glasses, that my glasses are the type of material that will stop a 22 round. I pay a little more for it, but that way my glasses are safety glasses. Now, they're not true safety glasses because there is openings on the sides, and probably with primers, it's one thing you really want to make sure you actually have like safety glasses or true safety goggles while you're doing, because a primer that pops, especially if it pops in something like that, sends a lot of little projectiles out. Especially, it can be that anvil, it can be some of the material that's in it. So yeah, PP is probably a little more on the top end of that with priming than other processes. So, and so that kind of covers that. Now, one last bit of business before we sign out here. So we had Lyman on a while back. One of the things that they did is he had talked about a couple of things to give away. He talked about a couple of Trackstar brass catchers, and then he sent me some stickers and a morale patch. So here's what we're going to do. For this particular brass catcher, this is their universal mount. So this is designed with a Velcro strap. Wrap it around the firearm, and then it goes over your ejection port. You could theoretically use this on a handgun. Probably not very easy, though. It is specifically on the picture designed for like an AR style rifle. It does have a zipper on the bottom to drop your brass out, and I should probably zoom in when I'm showing this off. So as you can see here, it goes over the opening, and then when you need to dump it, one day I'll get my directions down. There's a zipper on the bottom. You just unzip it, drops the brass out. It will hold 60 rounds. So theoretically, 2 normal capacity magazines or 1 extra capacity before you got to dump it. But it is designed to actually handle your hot brass. So anyway, we're going to do a giveaway on these 3 items. So here's the deal. For this one, you need to go to our Instagram. And then if you're not following us, you need to follow us. And you need to comment on the post that will be up on Instagram for this that you want to win. And that's all you're going to do. You can say one of 3 things. You can say ALX Nation, you can say Powder Coat Nation, or you can say I want to win. Okay?
Well, I'm just going to give you a tip, though. If you do powder coat, you get entered twice.
You do not.
Right? Oh, you don't?
No, that's bullshit.
Oh,
That's when you see only for Inox Nation.
No, if you say I'm going to give Mike money, that'll get you 2 wins. Once I get the money.
Okay, so they go on Instagram. They just comment ALOX Nation,
Powder Coat Nation, or I want to win. And it's I wanna, WANNA. If I see you try to use proper English and say I want to win, you're disqualified.
You're tough, SOB, Mikey.
Now, this is going to run for a couple weeks because the live show is usually 2 weeks ahead of or a week ahead of the actual podcast. So therefore, we're going to run it for a couple weeks. What is today? Oh, my watch died.
I want to win. I want to win. Let me win.
It is March 9th. So we will run this.
I guess I'm not allowed to win.
No, you can't.
No fair.
Participators on the Firearms Radio Network are not eligible to win. All right, so we are going to run this through April 5th. So April 6th, we will do the drawing live on air. Okay? Contest runs from now, March 9th, until Monday, April 5th. And then we will draw for on March 6th, or April 6th, and then on that very show, we will announce how we're going to give away the second one. Because we do have another brass catcher, too, that they sent us. So, and this one is set up to go on a pick rail. So, we will announce how we're going to give that one away on the 7th, or on the 6th of April, sorry. All right, then. If you don't Instagram from the cave, then you'll have to wait till the next giveaway, which will not be on Instagram. It will be on a different platform. So, all right, gang. On that note, I want to take time to thank everybody who joins us on the live show, gives us thanks and gives us likes and thumbs ups. Appreciate all that. It helps people find the show on the live show. Appreciate all the banter back and forth in the chat, all the information in the chat. It's helpful. It helps us, also helps people who watch the videos. So, for those of you who are tuning into this video for the first time, no, we do not edit YouTube videos, and no, I'm not going to edit YouTube videos. I have enough to do just trying to get the audio podcast out. So, if there's somebody out there that wants to volunteer to edit our YouTube videos, though, and take out all the dead spots and stuff, then, hit me up with email at reloadingpodcast@gmail.com and we'll talk. So, all right, gang. If you have an email you want to send us, say you want to bitch at us, complain about something, you have a show idea, you just want to say hi, you want to give us some crap, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can text us or leave us a voicemail by calling 608-467-0308. Wow, that was a brain fart. Holy crap, I'm screwed by the time I get to Jim's age. So once again, 608-467-0308. You can call us, leave us a voicemail, or send us a text message. So the other things you can do is you can find us all on social media. Facebook, MeWe. And then also we've got a Discord channel. So like I said, if you want to get to the Discord channel and you can't find it, there will be the link for the Discord invite will be in our show notes for this. That's how you're going to get to Nick and Ray's doc. And otherwise, you can send us a message. Send me an email at reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. Send me a text, and we will get you a link to Discord. Because Discord, you can't just pop in and say hi. You have to have a link to get to join the different servers. So, thanks to everybody that joins me every week as a co-host. It's one of those things that, trust me, I know far from everything for reloading, and so that's one of the things that I appreciate all the people that come and help share their knowledge, and I appreciate the people that come in to chat and share their knowledge as well. So, thank you. Travis just proved yet again that they don't teach you how to spell in Idaho.
I'm typing. Look, I corrected it right there.
You have a keyboard in front of you. It's not like your phone auto corrected it. You intentionally screwed that up in the first place. So, thank you very much for everything that everybody.
Oh God, Ray Rowden got him too.
Oh my goodness. Anyway,
Jason, you old fart, behave yourself. Damn it, Mike's trying to sign off.
Oh my goodness! Before Nick gets abused anymore,
I'm just sitting here crying and laughing.
Well, take it off of you so we can see his face.
I'm
his
trying
young,
to save him the
tender face.
embarrassment. Yes, we do have a couple of great show sponsors. We have Patriot Patch Company, which, here's your new patch of the month. That's why I was still on me, because I wanted to show this. There is your March patch of the month upside down. My little Armalite. So, and as a Patriot Patch Company patch of the month member, you also get a sticker. And then you get Ryan's original drawing. Ryan Cross is the person that designs all the patches for Patriot Patch Company. So, amazing stuff every month. They've got new stuff too. Been a great show sponsor for years, a bandwidth sponsor. Our other show sponsor and also network sponsor is Primary Arms. Right now, if you're looking for something for concealment, say you're looking for holsters or you're looking for mag carriers or you're looking for other stuff, they've got a good selection on their website. That's primaryarms.com. Go check it out. A lot of different companies there. They've also got some other just amazing stuff. They've got reloading stuff. They've got some bullets and some stuff. Obviously, like everybody else, applies a little low, but they're trying. The one thing that I really like about Primary Arms with their search functions, they have a little box that you can check, and it says only show in stock. And you know what? When you check the box, it actually freaking works. It's amazing. So, but they, I mean, just so much stuff. It's just not their optics. They've got gun parts. They've got full guns. They've got all sorts of stuff. Like I said, they've got some reloading stuff in there. They've got concealed carry holsters, duty holsters, a whole bunch of different stuff on there. So make sure you check them out. PrimaryArms.com. And on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Be an asset, not a liability.
Brass prep sucks.
Jump on the Milsurp short bus.
Defend the Second Amendment. It's the most important thing you can do. So after that, take somebody shooting. Take a new shooter shooting.
And squeeze. Don't yank that trigger.